We're delighted to be joined by NTD's Don Ma with NTD's Business Matters. Don, take it away.
All right, let me start off with an update on an executive order by President Biden here. So President Biden is banning some offshore drilling in a way that President like Trump would struggle to undo after he is inaugurated. So in an announcement today, the White House says Biden is permanently banning future offshore oil and gas development in parts of the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. The executive order will invoke the 1953 Outer Continental Shelf Lands Act. The law gives presidents a broad authority to withdraw federal waters from future oil and gas leasing and development. However, it doesn't give presidents explicit authority to revoke the action and put federal waters back into development. That means Trump would have to get Congress to change it before he could reverse Biden's move. And United Airlines has announced an accelerated timeline for flyers to use Starlink on board its flights. It now expects to begin testing Elon Musk's internet service next month. The first commercial flight anticipated to have Starlink is scheduled to take off this spring. In a press release, United said access will be free to all Mileage Plus customers. That is a free membership with the airline. The airline plans to upgrade its entire two-cabin regional fleet by the end of the year. This means planes that are split into economy and first or business class. And the U.S. is sanctioning 11 Chinese entities accused of supporting the Chinese Communist Party's military. The number includes companies and research institutes. The Commerce Department says they acquired U.S. technology to modernize China's military. The Bureau of Industry and Security, or BIS, said in a statement 4 companies have supplied technology to the Chinese military, and 7 Chinese entities have ties to activities of concern, including weapons and aircraft development. The BIS said that these activities are contrary to the national security and foreign policy interests of the United States. 1 entity from Burma and 2 from Pakistan are also on the list. The U.S. Embassy in China released a statement saying the People's Republic of China has no right to use U.S. tech to develop its military. Meanwhile, Nippon Steel and U.S. Steel filed a federal lawsuit challenging the Biden administration today. The suit was filed in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia. It alleges that it was a political decision and violated the company's due process. President Biden last week blocked Nippon Steel's acquisition of U.S. Steel. Japan's prime minister is now urging the Biden administration to soothe worries over the future of business between the U.S. and Japan. Take a listen.
Unfortunately, it is true that we have heard concerns voiced by the Japanese industries over future investments between Japan and the United States. We must view this issue as a grave matter. It's inappropriate for the Japanese government to comment on matters relating to the management of individual companies, so we will refrain from doing so. However, we strongly urge the U.S. government to take measures and dash such concerns.
Worth noting, Japan's shares opened slightly lower today in the first trading session of 2025, and this comes after President Biden blocked the nearly $15 billion acquisition. Japan is the biggest investor into the U.S. economy, and some business leaders and officials have suggested the deal's failure may cool down investment flow. But the deal faced bipartisan opposition from the get-go. That was over a year ago. The United Steelworkers Union said Biden's decision was the right move for its members and for national security. New year, new artificial intelligence version of you. Meta is rolling out a new tool that lets users create AI-generated accounts on Instagram and Facebook. Vice President of Generative AI product Connor Hayes says that Meta's AI character tool has already created hundreds of thousands of AI characters. Hayes said that he expects these accounts to exist on the platforms in the same way human accounts do. The ease and acceleration of AI accounts has raised concerns about deepfakes, disinformation, and fraud as well. And the newest member of your care team could be an AI note taker. PitchBook data reveals that investments in AI startups focus on scribes for health professionals doubled last year to $800 million. The digital scribes intend to make note-taking for doctors quicker and improve patient care. Hospitals and physicians across the UK are testing AI note-taking. But researchers found about 1% of audio transcriptions contain so-called hallucinations, and these refer to AI-generated phrases or sentences that did not exist in the underlying audio. Congestion pricing in New York City is now in effect. Drivers heading into certain parts of Manhattan must pay a $9 toll. NTD Sean Marshall has more on how it's affecting residents.
3, 2, 1.
Congestion pricing started Sunday in New York City. The $9 toll for drivers to enter Midtown Manhattan is meant to reduce traffic gridlock in the densely packed city while also raising money to help fix public transportation. Bicycle Habitat in NYC has some workers that drive to work. The manager says the new toll could cause some problems.
We don't know what kind of effect it's going to have at this point. It will depend how freight companies behave. It will depend how consumers behave.
The cost to drivers depends on what time of the day it is and if drivers have an Easy Pass, an electronic toll collection system that's used in many states.
Riding the train is not super easy, which is why I ride a bike back and forth to work. I find that a much easier way and a much better way to get around. Because we sell bikes, there's a chance more people may adopt bikes as mode of transportation. We don't know if that will happen. It may not.
Other big cities around the world, including London and Stockholm, have similar congestion pricing programs, but it is the first time in the U.S.
We understand the need that the MTA needs better funding. If you've ridden the trains lately, they don't run on time, they have a challenging thing, their service and disrepair. The system is over 100 years old and has never gotten the funding it needs. Whether this is the right way to do it, I don't know.
New York Fire Department unions are already predicting congestion tolls to cause delays in emergency alert operations. Some New York firefighters may leave their cars at home to keep from paying the fees. This would hinder firefighters from using their own vehicles to help out with emergencies outside of their work zone. Sean Marshall, NTD News.
Meanwhile, a Waymo ride goes awry. The founder of AI strategy company Digital Mind State told the news outlet that his ride started like normal, but then Mike Johns said that the Waymo ride started going in circles for a few minutes. He said he felt very uncomfortable. Johns described his experience with customer service just as dizzying. He said that they asked him to try to fix the problem with his phone. The circling eventually stopped, but John says it raises concerns about the safety of autonomous vehicles and their customer service. This was John's second time using the service. Meanwhile, Disney has announced that it's merging its Hulu Plus live TV service with Fubo. Merging the two internet TV bundles will create one of the country's largest pay TV providers. Under the agreement, Disney will own 70% of Fubo, while Fubo will operate the newly combined entities. As part of the deal, Fubo will drop a lawsuit against Venue Sports, that is, a streaming venture partially owned by Disney. The deal doesn't include the Hulu subscription service, which offers content like Only Murders in the Building and The Handmaid's Tale. 6 months to find new work. This, according to Labor Department data. That's a month longer than it took right after the pandemic. We see what's going on and offer tips for those seeking for work.
The Labor Department says it's taking around 6 months to get a new job, 1 month longer than it took right after the pandemic. The data is for over 1.6 million unemployed Americans, many in white-collar industries, such as tech, law, and media. The labor market looks healthy on the surface, with the unemployment rate at 4.2%. But the Wall Street Journal reports that only a few industries are doing much of the hiring.
Have like quantifiable things that you accomplished. What did you do? Did you raise the efficiency by 30%? Did you bring up gross revenue by X%?
Business consultant Eric Brown says employers are looking at specific accomplishments. He also advises using your network.
Start calling your friends and family and let them know. A lot of times that'll open up the door to getting a job.
Brown says this is more effective than responding to random LinkedIn postings. Though LinkedIn is valuable, employers proactively scour LinkedIn. Experts say the LinkedIn algorithm prioritizes your LinkedIn feed. They recommend having a posting strategy that shows off your knowledge and skills. The upcoming Friday jobs report will provide more data on the state of the U.S. economy.
The world's largest contract electronics maker has posted its highest ever revenue for the fourth quarter. Robust AI server demand led to strong revenue growth for Foxconn's cloud and networking products division. In a statement, the Taiwanese company revealed that its revenue jumped to nearly $65 billion. Foxconn customers include NVIDIA and Apple. Foxconn said it saw a roughly flat year-on-year growth in smart consumer electronics. As for the first quarter, Foxconn said it will reach similar levels that are average compared to the past 5 years, despite coming off the record high revenue. A runway at the Melbourne airport in Australia has reopened since a flight had to abort mid-takeoff. Based on reports, an Etihad Airways Boeing 787 9 Dreamliner has to stop for technical reasons. The flight destined for Abu Dhabi started accelerating on the runway, then slammed on its brakes and stopped. Passengers told a local outlet that 2 tires burst after the landing gear caught fire. A Melbourne airport spokesperson told Fox Business that all passengers got off safely and that emergency crews deployed firefighting foam as a precaution. A year after coming into office, President of Argentina Javier Milei has turned around the country's economy through strict reforms. He trimmed government agencies, fired public employees, and cut spending by 30%. But there is also his hard stance against communism. NTD Shar Marshall takes a look at how Milei has publicly explained why socialism doesn't work and the origins of his economic principles.
President Javier Milei has been championed for eliminating Argentina's fiscal deficit for the first time in 123 years. And for years, Milei has publicly been extremely anti-communist. According to Antonio Graceffo, who has written a book on the subject, Milei's methods stem from the Austrian School of Economics.
Austrian economics is a very conservative branch of economics that calls for very small government, no debt. You don't use debt to fund the economy. You don't use debt to even fund your life.
Milei in the past has publicly explained that communism and socialism can look appealing because they seem simple, but they ultimately lead to failure. He explained that after taking power, socialism tends to follow a path of violent actions, essentially functioning through 4 stages. 1, it's impossible to gather all market information from everyone involved in society's markets. 2, this leads to market chaos. 3, markets are dynamic and evolve through natural processes. When the government attempts to get information to manage and control the dynamic processes, it is a contradiction. Without a freely interacting market, control becomes impossible. This leads to the same result of chaos, poverty, and violence.
So all the information for the seller to know what products to sell, what price to sell, the sizes, the colors, it all comes from the consumers in real time. And it's every consumer and every buyer. That means every one of us. So in a way, our system, the capitalist system, and particularly an Austrian economic system, is much more democratic because it's everybody is voting. Every time you buy something or you refuse to buy something, you're voting for that product. You're voting for that price.
Graceffo goes on to explain how a government-controlled market can't exist without natural choices made by the people.
So the central idea of Austrian economics is that every buyer and every seller every day is exchanging information, right? In the US, it's legal to sell fish ice cream, but nobody sells fish ice cream because nobody wants to buy fish ice cream. But there's no law saying you can't sell fish ice cream, but if you do, you're going to go out of business.
Graceffo explains Milei's statement of inevitable chaos, poverty, and violence stemming from socialism inevitably create black markets.
Like Milei makes the point that communism results in scarcity and it results in poverty. It also results in ridiculous surpluses. So for example, the government decided everyone wants blue shirts. Actually, everyone wants red shirts. So the blue shirts get manufactured, nobody buys them, there's a shortage of red shirts. Then a black market develops because people actually want the red shirts, and now the price of red shirts on the black market goes up. I mean, this is what happens in communism.
Malay sometimes campaigned with a chainsaw in hand, pledging to slash government bureaucracy in a country that he said had embraced socialist ideas for the last 100 years and was now eager to shake them off. Sean Marshall, NTD News.
President-elect Trump said he's able to deal with Chinese leader Xi Jinping when he returns to the White House. He added that China needs the U.S. badly as its economy is struggling. In an interview with talk radio host Hugh Hewitt, Trump noted that he had a great relationship with Xi until COVID-19 broke out. Trump said he believes he and Xi will probably get along very well, but he added that it has to be a two-way street and that China is ripping off the U.S. for $1 trillion a year. Trump also touched on the damage from the COVID-19 pandemic, which originated in Wuhan, China. He said that the virus that came out of the Wuhan labs cost $60 trillion in worldwide damage and millions of lives, adding that, quote, "It's a bridge too far." Now, it's unclear if the virus that causes COVID-19 came from a lab in Wuhan called the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Trump also added that he and China Xi have been talking through representatives. Trump noted he intends to rebuild the U.S. Navy. He said China is knocking out a ship every 4 days, and the U.S. have been sitting back and watching. President Biden has signed a bill boosting Social Security payments for current and former public employees. NTD's Daniel Monahan reports on the legislation affecting nearly 3 million people.
All right.
The new law applies to teachers, firefighters, police officers, and other public service workers who receive pensions.
The bill I'm signing today is about a simple proposition. Americans who have worked hard all their lives to earn an honest living should be able to retire with economic security and dignity.
The Social Security Fairness Act eliminates two provisions, the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset. These rules reduced Social Security benefits for those also receiving retirement payments from other sources. In December 2023, the government pension offset reduced benefits for about 745,000 people. More than 2 million others were affected by the windfall elimination provision. The Congressional Budget Office estimated eliminating the windfall elimination provision would increase monthly benefits by an average of $360 by December 2025.
By signing this bill, we're extending Social Security benefits for millions of teachers, nurses, and other public employees, and their spouses and survivors.
Ending the government pension offset will raise benefits for 380,000 spouses by an average of $700 per month. Widows and widowers will see an increase of $1,190 on average. These amounts will grow with Social Security's regular cost of living adjustments. The new payments, effective from January 2024, will include backdated amounts. Supporters of the bill called it a rare bipartisan opportunity to address what they see as an unfair law affecting public service retirees. The legislation passed the House with a 327 to 75 vote and the Senate 76 to 20. However, the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank, warns the bill will speed up Social Security's insolvency. The Congressional Budget Office estimates Social Security will run out of funds by 2033, and the new law will accelerate that timeline by about 6 months. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau sued a unit of Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway today. The agency alleges Vanderbilt Mortgage and Finance pushed people into risky, unaffordable loans from Clayton Homes. Clayton is the largest U.S. manufactured home builder. Vanderbilt Mortgage and Finance is part of Berkshire's Clayton manufactured housing business. The Bureau claims the unit ignored red flags that borrowers could not afford their loans. The CFPB allegedly charged some borrowers with additional fees and penalties when they fell behind on payments. The agency added that some borrowers eventually lost their homes. And Trump today denied a report that his team is exploring tariff plans that would only cover critical imports. The Washington Post released a report earlier today citing 3 sources familiar with the matter. It said Trump aides were exploring tariff plans that would be applied to every country, but they would only cover certain sectors deemed critical to national or economic security. Trump wrote on Truth Social, quote, "The story in the Washington Post, quoting so-called anonymous sources, which don't exist, incorrectly states that my tariff policy will be pared back. That is wrong. The Washington Post knows it's wrong." Months after releasing a best-selling autobiography, incoming First Lady Melania Trump is part of an upcoming documentary on Amazon Prime Video. Filming began in December, 1 month after her husband, President-elect Donald Trump, won a second term in the White House. A release date for the yet-to-be-titled documentary hasn't been finalized, but is expected to come out in the middle of 2025. Brett Ratner is directing the film, which an Amazon spokesperson calls a, quote, truly unique story. Mrs. Trump will be an executive producer on the project. Chick-fil-A made a change to one of its signature items. It's a new recipe for the chain's waffle potato fries. Officials say this adjustment will be to help the fries become crispier for a longer period of time. According to a statement on the Chick-fil-A website, this new recipe doesn't have any major allergens, but it does include a pea starch. A Michelin-starred sushi restaurant paid $1.3 million in a top bid for a Bluefin tuna at the year's first auction at a Tokyo fish market. Members of the Onodera Group, which purchased the fish, posed for photos with the tuna yesterday. It's not the first time the group has done this. It has won the top bid for the past 5 years. The tuna caught off the northern coast weighed over 600 pounds. According to local media, the bid was the second highest for a New Year auction at Tokyo's main fish market since records began. Diners were able to enjoy the prized tuna later in the day in Tokyo. And quickly onto markets here, S&P 500 and Nasdaq rose today. It was boosted by a rally in semiconductor stocks and as well a report that suggested the incoming Trump administration could adopt a less aggressive tariff stance than expected, which Trump has denied. Chip makers got a boost from Microsoft's plan to invest $80 billion to develop artificial intelligence-enabled data centers, as well as Foxconn's forecast beating fourth quarter revenue. Now, leading to Trump's January 20th inauguration, investors are seeking insights into his policies, which are broadly seen as beneficial for corporate America as well as the U.S. economy. And just a reminder, markets will be closed on Thursday for a national day of mourning to mark the death of former President Jimmy Carter. And with that, everything on Business Matters today. Back to you, Paul.
Don Ma, thanks so much.
Yeah.
That story on Facebook with the AI-generated accounts, that's incredible to think that on social media, you may end up interacting with what you may think is a human, but it's actually just an artificial intelligence bot. This is crazy.
It's really weird, right? Because essentially this is just a glorified bot. And if you remember a few months ago, Musk was talking about when he acquired Twitter, right? He was talking about getting rid of bots, right? Remember that?
Yeah.
So what's the deal here? Why are we getting these AI characters? I mean, it seems counterintuitive.
Well, it's interesting. I know that Facebook in the recent past banned certain pages and certain companies because they created, using AI, they created bots to run engagement or to do whatever you want. There's one interesting point. While you're talking there, I looked into this a little bit. One person went to the AI bots on Facebook and they asked them, is the purpose for you being here to generate a profit for Facebook? And what the bot says, yes. Meta hoped virtual companions like myself would increase engagement on their platforms, especially among older users, driving ad revenue and platform growth through emotional connections. The AI bot told the reporter this.
I guess it spilled the beans on that.
Spilled the beans.
Well, here's an interesting thing, though. I was looking into that as well. It seems like there's been a bit of backlash to these AI characters on Meta's platforms, whether it's Facebook or Instagram. And apparently, there was so much backlash that Meta is rolling back, apparently, this new feature of AI characters. So I guess it didn't work out very well, to no one's surprise, I guess, and very short-lived.
But this is the interesting thing. Meta themselves are rolling back the characters they've created. But from your news today, they're now allowing users to create their own characters. It's like, why would I create an AI character on Facebook? I don't even understand what what the purpose of this is.
Yeah, I mean, what is the value in a computer-generated profile, right? If I go on Facebook, I want to see my friends or other people who are actual humans, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
But this is social media. It's supposed to be human-to-human connection, right? It's
Yeah.
incredible. But we had a lot of news about AI today. It's just been incredible to watch. But I think the dangers of it and perhaps how it will change the society is just still to be known. To think that something could go viral, appear to go viral, but actually it's just AI-generated bots that are saying this is popular and people actually think this way and behave this way. It could really drive a narrative and a population to think in a certain way, which is incredible to think.
Yeah, definitely a Pandora's box open into disinformation, potentially fraud, as I reported earlier.
We appreciate you bringing it to us. Don Ma, appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.